Isso, vamos. Acho que estamos ao vivo. Deixa eu
We're
achar o link.
live!
We're live! Let me find the link. Okay. Okay, we are live. Let me just share this on my Twitter.
Awesome. I'm gonna do that too. I love that we were talking in Portuguese until like a second ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely.
We have motive.
All right.
We can
just sent you the link. I shared on my Twitter, but I'm gonna send you the link regardless. And yeah.
I'm still trying to find like the beginning of this video is gonna be like just us
very confusing. So
just trying to technology, you know.
Div is already here. Hi, Div.
Hi, Div. I have to put my phone on silent mode, right? That's
yeah. I don't even know where my phone is, to be quite honest, and I actually need it. Wait a second. Also, by the way, it's cold in Brazil, so I have like the world's hideous socks on.
I love them. I love
so good.
They're fantastic.
Okay. Reaction pink finger. Unfortunately, on lives, we do not have WhatsApp stickers, which is how Brazilians communicate. Which I have some. You included WhatsApp conversations on your book, and I'm like,
I mean,
okay, we are gonna get there. Hello, everybody. Alyssa is here already. Mel is here already. Delphi is here already. So
Adiba
here. Sorry for me fangirling a little. Hi, hello. Okay, so
I was singing "Can't Stop Me" a second ago. In your homage, my Shimahou is already.
So yeah.
I'm gonna introduce Shimahou before I introduce myself.
Okay.
Just because I finished it, so I have to.
Chegando com os refri, rapaziada, Laura.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Hi, Rachel. So, hello, everybody.
I'm serious. I'm gonna introduce Shimahou before I introduce myself.
Please do, before we start talking about the book.
So this is Shimahou. It's the most typical drink of my region of Brazil, which we're gonna talk about because, like, have you ever had this?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So here, however, it's like, I think the first time I drank this was like when I was, I don't know, 3 years old. Like literally, babies drink this. There are like little versions for babies.
And I've seen that. It's so cute.
It's so delicious. It's really good. So this is called cuia. Cuia is a type of oak that is specific that, it kind of absorbs the bitterness of, this is the weed, and it's not weed. No, don't make that joke. God, no.
I mean,
it's a type of tea, but like if you tell people from the south of Brazil that this is tea, they're gonna be offended. But it is, like I can say it.
Okay. I still got foul.
Yeah. This straw of metal that is usually like super fancy is called bomba, which in Portuguese is like bomb. It's the Brazilian bomb word. So this has caused like a lot of uncomfortable situations in airports. And the best thing is that like at the end, it's going to be dirty, of course, but like at the end, you put this, and this is called a condom. É a camisinha.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and then you put like super hot water, and I do mean hot. Like if it doesn't burn your tongue, it's like, what's the point? So I have my little water bottle here.
I love how it's refillable. Like, because the thing with coffee is that whenever you run out, you kind of have to brew it again.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about Shimahou is that it's considered like a group activity, right? So you have it with, I mean, not now because COVID, but typically you have it with a group of people and you just pass it along. And the thing is, you don't say thank you. If you say thank you, it means you don't want to drink anymore.
Gee, I'm learning as well. So now that we have introduced Shimahome, let's introduce ourselves. Yes, let's introduce ourselves. Hello, everybody. My name is Luisa. You guys can call me Lo. I've been missing for a long time from my channel because thesis, but I took a break from my break because today is a very, very special day. And we are having Gabriela here to talk about her book that just came out, which is called Like a Love Song. And Like a Love Song is probably one of the best books that I've read in 2021. And I am very doubtful that any other book is going to top that off because, you know, and I am wearing a shirt in honor of Like a Love Song that says sad and Brazilian, which is always my mood.
And but it's also, well, here.
Yeah, but also Nachi for a good portion of the book. So yes. Now that we have this established, Gabi, do you want to introduce yourself and your book for us?
Yes, I am also sad and Brazilian. So that's important to know right off the bat. I can proudly say this is the only place where it will make sense that I'm also Gaúcha. And this is, you know, it's the name of the people from the region that I'm in. I have like a formal introduction that I always say, but I was just confused with the happiness of being, you know, in a Brazilian friendly. Okay, so I'm Gabriela Martins. I am a kid-lit Brazilian author, and this is my debut, Like a Love Song. It's a fake dating celebrity book in which this girl, it's because the image is mirrored, so confusing.
Yeah.
This girl right here, she's an international pop star, and she's on top of the world until she isn't, because her boyfriend dumps her on live television during an award show, and her image is in shambles. She becomes a meme. She goes viral in the worst possible way, and then her PR agency hires this guy, who is an indie actor, to play her boyfriend.
I just want to say that it's very Brazilian right off the bat because the premise of a book containing memes is in itself very Brazilian. You know, that's how we communicate. That's how we act. I just want to say that Like a Love Song was one of, like, I inhaled this book when I got the arc. I read it in like 3 hours, and then I messaged Gabi like a ton of audios through Twitter DMs, which is like the most cursed type of audio recorder. I am so sorry, but I had a lot of emotions.
It was great. It was great.
I loved it. It was so good. And we're going to talk about this today, but we thought about doing something a little different, which is buying an assortment of Brazilian candy and Brazilian foods and explain a little bit more about something that I think is probably one of the best things of your book. And if you're shy with compliments, I suggest that you get over it right now.
Honey, I'm not.
Okay, so Atiba is like, do you can send audios on Twitter DMs? I will find any possible way to send an audio. I am that person. I am sorry.
Also, I feel like Brazilians as a whole, like, will find a way to send like audio messages through LinkedIn if you give us,
don't give us 1,000%. Yes. But also, like, I think that the foods and stuff is something that kind of resembles like the best part of the book for me, because as we all know, being Brazilian is difficult in a good day, but I feel like the book reminded me of the best parts of being Brazilian and the parts of our culture that are just about this love and this passion that we have for each other and for the things that we do. And it reminded me of the good side of being Brazilian, despite the sadness and everything. And it's so wholesome in that regard. And so I'm very, very thankful that we finally have some good Brazilian representation for a main character that addresses the majority of issues that we as Brazilian women go through, especially abroad. So I cannot articulate enough, but that's it. And so do you want to start showing your food?
Yes. So also I want to make like one more comment about Shimahome, is that it has to, we say, thank you honka. So it has to kind of like purr So
like a
that's
cat.
how you know you have to refill it. So you go like, when it makes this sound, you have to feel it again and give it to the next person. So it's very rude to take two of them like one after the other. But I'm alone, so YOLO. I'm gonna show my food. So I have most of it is like what I had at home. So I have some fandangos.
I love those.
This is the best chips ever. It's ham. No, here. It's ham. It's just, I'll be honest, this is my comfort food. It's like kid food, right? It's what you buy when you are on break in school. But I never grew out of it. It's like just my comfort food. Like when I was super poor, this was like the only thing we could afford. Like it was expensive, but like back then. So I just love it. I bought some negresco as well for you all to find out that Oreo is not it. Okay,
like, Oreo is definitely not it.
Negresco is the true like cookie that is like really good.
Is the superior one.
Exactly. So I got some that my friend sent me for release day that I'm gonna eat today. I got a bergamota. We call this bergamota. Yeah. So the thing about Brazil also is that we eat a lot of the same thing, but with different names.
Yeah.
And I call this bergamota. And do you guys do what we call lagartixar?
No, I've heard that, but we don't.
Okay, so the verb is to lizard, and lagartixar is when you go to the south, to the sun, and you have chimarrão with berga. This is like the most weekend thing you can do. Like
it's a stereotype too.
It is, but it's true. Stereotype, but we really do this. Even when I was in high school, we would do this. We would bring berga and chimas and just eat this during the break. I got some pão de queijo, but I've eaten almost all of it already. That I'm gonna have with some mumu. That is almost done, almost finished as well. I have some pipoquinha doce.
Seritana? Yeah, we call them maritana.
So it's like we call it sweet popcorn, but it's not really popcorn.
It's kind of, yeah, it's yeah, it's not really.
This is like the cheapest thing you can buy.
Yeah,
and it's also like really good, to be honest. And I got some cuca.
Oh, right, I like this. This is good.
Yeah, this is like from the south as well, because the way it's done is by mixing German and Italian recipes. So there's room in it. There's like alcohol in this type of bread.
That's like how we like it, because it's not alcoholism if it is in Brazil.
Exactly. So this is very good and very strong. And Brazil has it has a lot of German and Italian refugees from World War II when the borders were open. Not the case anymore because government, but it was. So there's a lot of German and Italian communities here, and they got together for things like this, cuca,
which is amazing, and I love that for them. So I got a lot of stuff. I got kind of carried away, so I love that. I actually have to open because I bought like a box of chocolates that has a ton of different chocolates in it.
I was gonna do that, but then I don't know why I took this off. My grandma was like, "You could sleep or you could go to the grocery store. What do you want to do?" I was like,
okay, I got it. I got it. So the first thing that I got here is this very Brazilian thing. I don't know if you have anywhere else. Is this box of chocolates that has 17 different types of small chocolates.
Is this ours, Zoe? I didn't know that.
I didn't know. I sent this to Rachel, who's on the chat, and apparently there's not something similar that comes with like a ton of these. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
For every brand of chocolate, they just do these boxes with assorted types of chocolate. And
the box. Yes.
The box. Yes. And it's also kind of cheap. It's much cheaper than.
It's very cheap. It's very cheap. I also have balafini, which are like gummies, and I kind of broke into one. This is banana flavored. And Rachel will also recognize this because I sent it to her, is the teeth gummies.
As a kid, I used to put those in my mouth and just pretend to be a vampire.
I think this is like a key Brazilian experience with the teeth gummies. I also have bis. This is a chocolate with a cookie. Impossible to eat just a single one. Important to know.
That's like their whole motto. I'm just interrupting everything you say because I'm just so excited.
No, it's fine.
Which is also Brazilian, right? To interrupt people all the time. I've been told that this is very Brazilian.
I also bought the thing that is going to get me canceled. This is paçoquita.
Paçoca.
I hate this.
I love paçoca so much. I love paçoca pizza.
No, I hate this. And I'm going to eat it on camera so I can lose my Brazilian citizenship. And this is those peanuts that you have with beers. Yeah, they're like coated in like something that is crunchy. This is onion and cilantro flavored.
I love the one with pepper.
Yeah, so good. This was the only one I could find though.
It's so
I would eat like one entire thing of these on my own.
Same. Here they're called, like the red one is called Mexican peanuts, and it's not Mexican. Like we're the only ones who eat that shit.
It's so good. I love this. So I don't have any drinks.
I was trying.
I have water, but
I also have water. I have water in my Capricornio cup.
Are you a Capricorn?
I am.
Oh my God, I'm an Aries.
Ooh. Are you
right?
Are you as angry as the stereotype of Aries, whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm also just as work obsessed as you would think.
No, like I'm very work obsessed, but like the thing is I don't have a lot of patience to spare, you know? So
my pão de queijo is getting not hot, so I have to eat it. So this is the better brand, superior brand of doce de leite, and we only have it here in the south.
I will disagree with that because I'm from Minas Gerais, which also like I think it's something that is interesting to begin discussing. I am going to murder you.
So good.
I have no words. I have absolutely no words. This is.
I am from an Italian family. We mix salt and.
No, it's okay for you to mix salt and whatever. It's not okay for you to eat pão de queijo like that. I'm just saying.
Like this.
No, it isn't. It is not allowed. Someone is asking. Mel is asking. Is this allowed? No.
It is. It is.
I am gatekeeping as a citizen from Minas Gerais. I am gatekeeping pão de queijo, which is also very police. Yes, the murder of my will to live, and this is why I'm wearing this shirt. But what I wanted to begin talking about is like because I feel like it's also something that is very present in the book that I really like. Because I feel like YA books, really good YA books, which is the case with Like a Love Song, is that while they have a YA story and they have a YA storyline, and, you know, there's a romance and, you know, the fake dating trope and all of that good stuff, there's also an underlying message under all of that. And I feel like the message from Like a Love Song is Nachi really struggling to come to terms with this identity, this Brazilian identity, that she felt that she couldn't quite appropriate and you know, assume that for herself. But also like I thought that it was really interesting, like how she was always constantly afraid of searching for that, because if she wasn't going to be received well, then she wouldn't belong anywhere, because she didn't quite feel like she belonged in that place. And I feel like that sort of story of trying to find this place is extremely interesting. So the question is, how did you come to that?
I guess by trying really hard to find a community in the international Latinx community and feeling like I was not appreciated and I was not. I mean,
love you.
None of this is gonna come as news to you because you're also Brazilian. But so much of Latinx discourse and even opportunities is in Spanish only. I do not speak Spanish.
Yeah.
The majority of Brazilian population does not speak Spanish. We speak like Portuñol at best.
Yeah.
And just really feeling, it took me a very long time to feel comfortable claiming, the Latinx label, I guess. I remember even in school, in high school, my classmates asking our geography teacher when we studied Latin American history, they were like, are we or are we not Latinx? Because it all revolves around so much, especially around North American Latinx identities. And in South America, of course, Central America is deeply just rejected as well. But in South America, we are like so big and it feels like there's no space for us in the conversations. So,
yeah.
I just want to say
no. No, the answer is no. We're not going to go to that. We were having a good conversation. No.
I mean, Knox chose violence.
Yeah, and then people are like, I don't know why you're so angry. People keep choosing violence against me. I'm feeling very attacked. Okay. I really do get that. And, at the risk of being canceled once again, that I've been talking about, and I feel like this is a discussion that we should have. It's like, when we try to understand Latin America, it's a conversation that relies a lot more on our shared past of politics, and also because the divisions between Latin American countries are a product of colonization, and we have much more in common that we don't. Delphi was actually talking on the chat that Argentina has the same machi traditions that the south of Brazil has, because you guys do share a lot of the common culture. And at the same time, we also feel so removed from the bigger context of Latin American conversations. And so, I feel like there is something that is deeply decolonial about reclaiming this space that is Latin American. And I do feel like when you add this debate on a book that is for teenagers, there is the part that the teenagers look for. We're going to get there because I have so many feelings. But there's also this deeper conversation that I feel that needs to happen. And you aced that so well. I don't know, I think I mentioned to you or I mentioned in a video, but it's the way that Nachi talks about Brazil as her country of origin is very reminiscent of Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I think the two books, your book and Elizabeth Acevedo books, are the only ones who actually acknowledge something that is very interesting for me in diaspora books, because at no moment Nachi is like, I know more about this country than the people who are there. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And so, how do I claim this country since I've left there, since I was a kid? I haven't been there. How do I claim this for myself? And I feel like you addressed this so well, so well. It was of a care and of respect that I think that is very lacking in those diaspora stories. It's not that those stories cannot be told. It's just that there are a whole bunch of people who are still here and they need to be respected as such. So amazing. Absolutely incredible.
I think it's important. There's something that you mentioned when you read my book in those audio messages you sent me, and you said that you liked the fact that Nachi acknowledged that the culture continued without her.
Yes.
And this is something that I do think it's important, because the thing is, like you said, when people emigrate, their country doesn't cease to exist. It does exist in their the culture still exists as a separate thing, and like in your family, in your home, yes, but there is a larger part that, especially when we're talking about Latin America, is probably suffering a lot.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
because the image that we have here and across Latin America is that if you emigrate, you are doing better
Yes.
than the people who are still here. Right now, you work with us. I don't have to tell you everything that we are going through in Brazil politically. We are currently afraid of a coup.
Yeah.
And a coup that has been developing, well, our second in this, my lifetime, our lifetime. And it's a coup that has been developing and, has been warned against. And we as a people have not had the right to organize against this, because there's something like a pandemic happening as well, in which, again, we are tremendously behind, even though we have some of the most incredible biomedical staff, biomedical professionals.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking just before I came here. Barbie has announced a new line with like COVID heroes.
Yeah.
And a Brazilian bio medicine professional is in it, rightfully. But, how is that not coming back to us? It's great that she's acknowledged, but look at our people. We are dying majorly. And I remember when it was like 1,000 cases per day, we were so terrified. And then it went up to 5,000 cases a day. And then we were like, oh, well, I guess let's go back. Life is normal. And now we are back to 1,000 deaths a day, and life is moving on as normal. We have one of the worst rates of second vaccination, because people don't even have access to the information that they should get a second dose. It's not even like in the United States, where people don't want to take the vaccine because they think they're going to get a Russian chip on their skin. It's people don't have access to information. And I get very fired up about this, but I think you know what I mean, is that all of this is something that we are dealing with on
exactly
a daily basis. We have to struggle with this and the impacts of this all the time. And I think it's disingenuous to look at your culture, your heritage, and minimize all of that to perhaps speaking a language.
Yes, or a type of food.
Exactly. It is that. But this is a small part. There is more. And there's, there's that genetic trauma of colonization that we don't talk often about. Like how Brazilians worship foreigners because we have this underdog syndrome, because we have been explored for 500 years.
Exactly.
Through imperialism by Europe, by the United States. And, we are continuing this tradition. We are still being explored, but we have such an ugly vision of who we are as a people. We are not proud to be Brazilian. We are not proud, even though our country is one of the most beautiful. We have both a rainforest and desert. We have one of the most beautiful biomes in the world. We have a plurality that is so beautiful in people, in cultures, and we are not proud of any of this because we have been conditioned to believe we are less because of imperialism.
Exactly. And I feel like it's so important that you decided to very openly and overtly say this is a Brazilian main character, because I feel like this is so rare to see a Brazilian character who is extremely fleshed out. I feel like the only other example that I can think of is Flavia in The Henna Wars by Adiba Jargidar, who
did an awesome job.
Oh my God, I love that book so much. But I feel like the thing with Nachi is that I am deliberately ignoring the atrocity that you are committing in front of my eyes. But I feel like you are completely correct with this. And again, one of the things that I feel is that while we are aware of all of the difficulties and problems that we are facing as Brazilians, have you gotten your vaccine yet? No.
One.
Because you're a professor, right? Or because they reached the age?
The age.
Oh, yeah. I still haven't.
Because you are in a more populous area.
Yeah, that's it. But also, like,
I always say that I'm from the capital, because if I say my actual hometown, nobody's gonna like know what it is.
Also, by the way, I cracked open the teeth.
Awesome. I actually live in a smaller town that is like half an hour from the capital. So we have way less people. So this is why I have gotten the vaccine. But even then, it was literally last week.
No, yeah. But like, I'm probably going to get mine by the end of the month. But what I'm mentioning is like, countries in the global north are deciding like, are we going to go for a third shot or not? And we're over here like, we don't have vaccines yet. We're not vaccinated yet. And like, this is a country that is big enough and rich enough to produce its own vaccines. And so I keep thinking like, what about other countries who don't have this possibility? Because Brazil has research institutes and we do a lot with very little. But what I really do love about this book is that you took like a break from this constant feeling that we feel of like trying to kind of like survive, trying not to drown. I feel like it's the best option, and only go for the things about Brazil that make us feel proud to be Brazilian. And you are 100% correct. Being proud of being Brazilian is actually something that you have to build yourself up to and kind of be like, oh, I can insert my culture in this conversation. I can tell people, look at my culture. This is what my culture is. I can demand people pay attention to my culture. Even though like I've gotten a couple of hate comments of people being like, why do you bring Brazilian your entire personality? And I'm like, bitch, it kind of is.
It's funny because other countries do that as well. Americans do that and we can't. I think it's funny because even a lot of our políticas públicas, I don't know what it is in English.
Public policies.
A lot of our public policies are so developed in comparison to places like the United States. I mean, we have universal health care. It may not work as we wanted to, but we have it, And, in some cases, like I have a friend, she works with like speech muscles. Anyway, my friend works for SUS and working for the universal health care system, her job, her day-to-day is that she does the surgical operation when you're trans and you want to have a change of voice. So she moves your vocal cords like a little up or down. That changes your timbre, your speech
tone. Yeah.
I don't know. And I was thinking about how awesome it is that SUS offers that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly not easy. I'm not saying that Brazil doesn't have a lot of issues with transphobia, but it's really cool that you can have this surgery for free.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have to go through a lot of procedures to get to that point, but you can do that. Like I have a friend who works like only doing that. That's her whole job.
Yeah.
And I was talking with some friends who are trans and who are American, and they were like, I didn't even know that this surgery existed.
Yeah. Also, like a lot of things that one of my best friends is
a third world country.
Don't get me started on third world and okay. Especially when Americans are like, we're like a third world country in a Gucci belt. I'm like, bitch. Oh God. But yeah, I do feel like it's important for us to kind of reclaim this space and also be unapologetic in our culture and the things that we have learned in our culture, because we do a lot of good things, and you are completely correct. And like, one of my best friends, she is a doctor, and during med school, she actually was attending physicians, and they would go like in boats and cars to go to like the edges of cities and farms and stuff. It's just to make sure that those people are with their insulin up to date, with their pressure medication up to date, everything for free. And so like it is important for us to kind of understand the good things that we do in order to address our problems and where do our problems stem for. And I feel like it's very important to be unapologetic in that respect. So it's very, very, I love that the book is so unapologetically Brazilian. Adiba just said this because I feel like it opens our world to, and I feel like Nachi also goes through this kind of process of, I am denying this identity and I'm embracing this identity because this is important.
Her mind.
Yeah. And I feel like it's great that she's a teenager going through this, but and is what I was saying, like the underlying message that is, how do you deal with this culture, and more important, what does this culture mean to you?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I got a lot of comments being like, this book would have worked better if they were, in their 20s or something. And okay, first of all, no. Okay, like, actual teenagers who are stars is a thing, and I think that we should address how differently they're treated, especially when they are female presenting or girls. But that's not even like what I was gonna get at. I think that the act of decolonizing your mind is a lot more painful when you're older, because when you are older, you have to not only come to terms with the things that I got there, I tried to address in the book, but you have to really analyze your history.
Yeah.
And the fact that you, like, when the Portuguese first came here, they murdered 3/4 of the native populations.
Yeah.
Like, we have to wrap our minds around this brutality. 3/4 it's genocide. It's a lot. The Portuguese came here and killed more people than the Peste Negra, than this bad pandemic disease in Europe, which we would call the
plague. The plague. It's the plague.
Bubonic.
Yeah, it's the plague.
Yeah, okay.
Because you have the plague doctors and
Yeah. So the Portuguese got here and killed more than the plague, and they did that because they wanted cana de açúcar, a plant,
sugarcane.
Yeah,
but also like. Yeah, but there's also like a part of being Brazilian that I feel that relates to this is that the majority of us are born from that genocide because of how mixed we are. And so
this is so, I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting a lot because I am so like fired up. Like this is the first time
it's fine.
Talk about this stuff, publicly somewhat. I remember someone being like, because I talk sometimes about my grandpa, and my grandpa, he is alive, and I talk a lot about my grandpa. I'm super proud of him. He's amazing. And he's Shahua, and sometimes I get comments about like whether I am indigenous, and like I'm not indigenous because being indigenous doesn't work the same way here as, let's say, in the United States. Like if you're indigenous in Brazil, it's because you live in a reservation, you actually practice your culture. The fact that my grandpa was in a reservation, that doesn't mean anything. And I had to live with the fact that my grandpa, can I tell his story real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So my grandpa, he was 4 when his reservation got invaded by European Catholics who murdered his father and stole his mother you know, in a very, and the thing is, if you are like, oh my God, this is the family history of like
all of us.
9% of Brazilians, okay? You go back enough, and there was an indigenous couple where the man was brutally murdered in front of the kids, and the woman was raped into marriage. That's just the thing. But what happened was that when my grandpa was 4 years old, he watched the brutal assassination of most of his people. Because that was, you know, in the 30s when the remaining Chahuas fled to Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, then his mother was forced into marriage with this military Portuguese guy. And shortly, but a little bit after, we had the dictatorship in Brazil, where he was beat up constantly for being a brown man who was, you know, you couldn't pass, you know, like he was very obviously Shahua. He is very obviously Shahua. You put him next to me, we are very different. He is dark skinned. He has much longer ears, much bigger nose. I mean, I do have nose, charming. What I'm saying is that he couldn't hide. You know, during the dictatorship, he told me he would have to, if he wanted to go to a drugstore on the weekend, he had to put on a suit. And sometimes he would still get beat up because he looked like a bum. Mm-hmm. And that was because of who he was. That was because of his identities. That was not because of, you know, anything other than that. And this, my story, my family history is no different than the crushing majority of Brazil. And when you grow up with this kind of history, there's no way this doesn't affect you. So, you know, during the dictatorship, you were either for dictatorship or you were running away from it.
Yeah.
And this, I think the colonization and the dictatorship were the two most brutal things that have happened in our history in a mass scale that have affected the way we think and the way we act. And you know, there are a lot of things that foreigners perceive about us that they think is funny or whatever, but it's really about trauma, like the way we are so touchy. We are very touchy. We will hug each other a lot. We'll kiss each other a lot. But there's a reason for that. Every time your kids left, you weren't sure if they were ever going to come back.
Yeah.
We were brutally murdered on the streets by the police because they felt like it. That was the dictatorship in Brazil. And if you opposed it in some way, even if maybe, you know, you didn't sing the anthem that day because you had a sore throat, you were killed. And you were killed in school and nobody could say anything. So hell yeah, when you leave for home, your mom's going to kiss you and hug you and squeeze you and cover your head with kisses. It's funny for foreigners, but that's a reaction to trauma.
Yeah. I cracked open in the bees, by the way, but
that's a good decision. I'm gonna.
Let's go for a brighter topic, but still in the point of culture. We talk about the importance of Nacho being Brazilian and stuff.
I love how you're like, let's talk about your book, promote your book, and I'm like, Brazilian rage.
But that is the point. That is the point. This is a Brazilian decolonial rage channel. Has always been. But we've talked about the importance of Nacho being Brazilian and being unapologetic Brazilian. But why a singer?
Because I love singers. I love music. There's not like a super...
Which is very Brazilian of us too. Just saying.
Right. I could be like, well, actually, that was an act of resistance. Because looking back to the dictatorship, artists were, you know, persecuted. But like, no, I just really like this music is very important to me. Like the first tattoo I got was a very hard time. No, this other side.
Your pigtail is on front of it.
No.
But I think I can see it.
Okay, that was the first tattoo I got when I was 18. It was like, I am legal, and like I'm legally allowed to get a tattoo. I'm gonna get a musical note. We are very into music.
Yeah, as a culture, we are completely into music. And I feel like not only because it's a form of resistance, but because it's something that binds us all. And it's very much a part of who we are as people. And I just, look, sometimes there are books that read, when I say books that read like fan fiction, there are books that read like a Wattpad fan fiction, and there are books that read like AO3 fan fiction. And your book definitely reads like an AO3 fan fiction, which is a very high compliment. Let's put it. It's a very high compliment. I still have fanfic that I go back on AO3 when I'm, that kind of so sweet with so much fluff. And the two, let's talk about Nachi and William, please. Let me discuss them.
I love my sweet boy.
Also, by the way, since we are going to go into the couple and the romance, in honor of Trent, I am going to try Pasoquita for the first time in ages in front of the camera. Because,
I'm ready to be disappointed.
Just the smell of this is...
It's really good.
I really don't like it.
No, it's amazing. It's really good. You can ship those to me, okay? Pasoquita, everything. What is it made of? Peanuts?
Yeah, it's peanuts and sadness.
Milk? No.
It's peanuts, sugar, and salt.
It's so good.
And it crumbles everywhere. It's awful.
It does. It does. To be fair, it does.
Oh, God, I don't like this.
I'm feeling a little drunk just from...
So, Trent, let's discuss him.
Have you ever met a Trent?
Oh, I've dated so many of them. So many of them. It was, which was actually pretty important to me because you see there's so many YA books where the main, love interest is such a fucking dick. And I really love that in this book, it's very clear that guy is an asshole. And that you should not go for that guy.
My book starts where those book ends,
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, oh God. I wanted to punch him so bad.
I mean,
so bad.
We know so many Trents. I feel like the Trents are the majority. I remember when I wrote my first draft and one of my friends, one of my CPs, she read it and she was like, aren't we supposed to like him? And I'm like, no. Because
that's not the point.
Because, Natalie likes him because she's in an abusive relationship. Because, that's what happens when the world idolizes these guys who are, inevitably white, very often blonde, and, using the description of the book have like this James Dean complex, like they're hot and they know they're hot. When I was a teen, my mom used to coach me against guys like Trent because my father, my biological father, was a Trent. Mm-hmm. He was a model and an actor. So my mom was like, listen, if the guy has more awareness that he is hot, then if he's so self-interested, so into himself that he can even look at you right, dump him.
So my mom threw me to the wolves. I had to figure that on my own. Thanks for the hookup, Mom. But yeah, I do feel like it's important. And I really love this new batch of YA that is very centered on this main character's awareness of love is not supposed to feel like. And also, by the way, I will take full credit for telling you to listen to Olivia Rodrigo's album.
Yes.
And I was like, it's Olivia Rodrigo's album is basically like a love song. It's basically like a love song.
You're right. Absolutely. And you know what I really love about this? It talks not about how Olivia should read my book, but also she should read my book. But it talks about how universal that feeling is.
Yeah.
I think it's especially present when we are teenagers and if we are female presenting.
Yeah.
But it follows us through life, you know, of
Yeah.
not being good enough, of comparing ourselves with others, of feeling, you know, underwhelmed and overwhelmed at the same time.
Yeah.
So I really love that.
And that part, Brutal is very much Natalie's song. I love it.
I agree. You know, she did everything with that song. I think it's time for me to turn on my ring light because it's getting darker.
Yeah. I have my on, as you can see, but
I'm gonna look very white.
Hey, that's not so bad.
Okay, the more yellowish, like.
No, but I really love this, and I love that like their romance is so like.
You know, I wanted to. One thing that my mom was in a very busy relationship with my father, who was not a nice guy. Like I said, he was a drunk, and he was one of those guys who make you feel like they're doing you a favor by staying with them, by staying with you.
Yeah.
And so Trent has that vibe, right?
Yeah.
And when you go through that kind of trauma of being with someone who makes it feel like they're doing you a favor by being with you, that nobody should be with you, nobody would want to be with you.
Yeah.
It's very easy to believe that this is how relationships should be.
Mm-hmm.
And you should have to fight for relationships. And
yeah,
what my mom taught me was that that's not it. We're not supposed to fight for relationships. If it's so hard, then let it go.
Yeah. No, and also like I feel like this book and Olivia Rodrigo's album and Taylor Swift re-recording of Fearless have the same vibe to be read as an adult, because I feel like a lot of reviewers don't quite get that YA books are not for adults. YA books are for young adult, for teenagers. Like that's not the point. We're not. But there is this feeling of nostalgia when you are an adult reading a book that is meant, a really good book that is meant for a teenager, that you're like, oh, I felt like that. It got really better, but I used to feel like that. And so there is this feeling, and I feel like it's very beautiful. Also, like, I don't want to go into spoilers. We're going to look 6 months from now, we're going to do another live, and we're going to discuss the book where I actually go into like the points of the book that I have notes and I want to discuss, because like I can't spoil, but there are so many parts where I'm like, this is so fucking healthy and mature. And like, oh my God, I love this. I love this.
If you're talking about the airport scene where she calls her mom, that's, you know, my mom has given me that advice almost verbatim. That's
my mom too.
Nachi's mom is such a Brazilian mom.
Exactly.
Right?
And I love this because it really, first of all, it's an example of a positive mother in YA literature, which I feel it's not that common. There's always like a contentious relationship with the mother, as if, you know, I could go into a whole psychoanalytic theory behind all of that and why. But there's also like this feeling, and me as a Brazilian, like me and my mom, we had our falling outs as a teenager. Obviously, we all do. But there is a deep connection. And the things that Nachi's mom says in the book are almost what everything that my mom has ever told me. And I feel like there's also this type of raising your kids to a world that you know is not going to be easy on them, but you still raise them with a lot of love. And that representation for me was absolutely beautiful and brilliant. It was like absolutely brilliant. I love it. I love her mom. It's so cute.
Thank you. You know, when I told my mom I was queer, she didn't react well. She tried really hard to convince me I was not queer, and eventually we got there, and she got to that part of like overcompensation, where she would mention queerness at every possibility, which was funny. And recently we had a conversation about that. And she was, because I told her that my first girlfriend, her mom had, so let's call her, give me a random female name.
Mary.
When I dated Mary, when Mary told her mom that she was queer, which was not at all in the same timeline that I told my mom, her mom was so cool about it that her mom got a tattoo of like that equal sign, that represents same gender sex, same gender sex, no, same gender marriage. But also, yes. I just mentioned to my mom, we were talking about Mary, and I mentioned that I thought it was so cool. Everybody was so in love with Mary's mom because that had been what Mary had done. And my mom got real quiet and she said, I wish I had been that mom to you, but I was just so scared of what the world would do to you.
Yeah.
And then she told me that she had been in denial and feeling like so that she hadn't reacted well to my coming out because she knew that as a female presenting person, I would already go through so much in this society because Latin America is not kind to women.
Yeah.
Latin America is not kind to queer people. And yet we are very close to being a matriarchal society because it's more common to know people whose fathers have left than people whose fathers have not. And I think that this is a very Latin American experience, because men are taught in Latin America that they do not owe anyone responsibility or sticking around, but women have to. Women have to stick around. Women have to give up their lives for the children. Women have to do everything. They have to be role models. They have to be everything. And if they don't, it's like, that was like the least you could do. And then men, they are not treated with the same demands. So I really wanted to explore motherhood in some way. In my second book, I'm also exploring motherhood.
We're gonna talk about your second book
Okay, awesome. Like not as a central story, but as part of the story, because I think that I remember when my agent read the first draft and she was like, well, if her father left, it's to be expected that they would be very close. And I'm like, no, not at all, because when your father leaves and you grow up without a father, you're gonna blame your mom at some point. And that causes friction. There's gonna be a point when you are a teenager when you are going to swear that you would rather die than become your mother. And when time goes on, you're gonna see what a fucking asshole you were to think that, because your mother is amazing. And I think I might still write a whole book about this, but I just think that motherhood in Latin American communities is such a delicate and beautiful experience. And I am forever indebted to my mom. Because
100%.
I would not be anywhere without her. She raised me alone and she did all the things, and she was a teenager when she had me. Mm-hmm. So I just love her so much.
So my dog just ate my paçoca. But yeah, at least someone likes it. But yeah, I do really feel like that. We say here in Brazil that there is a statistic that we have 5 million children without their father in their birth certificate. And that is just the children that don't have their father's name. And there are so many more children whose fathers are absent. And
I have my father's name in my document, but he didn't stick around after I was 5.
Exactly. Which is like, and it's so common and it's so widespread. And it's like, this is not a diss on Latin American men, but it is a diss on a culture and a society that puts all of this weight and this responsibility on women.
But for me, it's a diss on Latin American men.
Oh, but also like,
should be better. So much better.
Like, I am aware that I am very out of the curve because my dad is like very out of the curve. My very communist dad is very out of the curve. But
he's a good one.
Yeah, but like still, even my dad, even amongst his own family, like he's out of the curve in terms of fatherhood. Because it's definitely not expected for men to stick around all that much. And I think it's beautiful that you added this on the book. But Nachi's mom is not just her mom. She has a whole other thing going on. She has her own business. She has her own career. She's doing her own thing. That is all going on, but she's still a mother. And she does something that is very Brazilian, that she will stop literally anything if her daughter needs something, which is definitely like something that is extremely Brazilian of my mom to do, if you actually need them. And I feel like this is more than like writing YA. This is also a love letter to your mom in a
definitely
way.
Like she's the first in the acknowledgement.
Yeah,
that. Like it is like I'll be honest, everything I write is a love letter to my mom,
as it should.
Right? She's just someone I admire and love so much, and I think that this is very consistent.
Yeah,
with being Brazilian. It's like
yeah,
we mostly have really shitty fathers, but our mothers really step up. Like this Father's Day, it's gonna be Father's Day on Sunday in Brazil, and I asked my mom what she wants for Father's Day.
Yeah, we always say that, like the points, right?
Like,
the moms who are dads. This
exactly
always happens, and I have so many friends in this position. And I feel like it's beautiful that we are able to actually discuss those intricacies of our own cultures, because I don't know, it's like it's at the, like we were talking at the beginning, it's something that it's a part of Brazilian culture that is beyond the food and the language. It's more than just a little bit of Portuguese, mostly because Nachi doesn't really speak Portuguese properly, which is a divide. It's so interesting that you chose this as a way to show like the division that she feels, but there's always this connection. And I was reading the book, like skimming through the book before the live show, and I'm going to try not to cry, but there's this part that she tries to call her grandma, and she tries to talk to her grandma, and her grandma does all of the effort to tell her that, you know, you still have a home here. This is still your home here. And like, I feel like it's important that we allow these people who have raised us, now that we are taking this space, we allow these people not to disappear and not to be forgotten. And we show everyone the strength that those people have. And this connection that she had with her grandmother, like her grandmother being like, I can't really communicate with you, but I can love you so much that you can feel this communication. It's just very profound in this culture, like this deep abiding love that we have. And I just feel very grateful that this is represented in this way. I feel like it's so important to have this represented and to have people know that this is who we are. Like, we love like a lot, and we're very intense in what we do because we know how difficult it is to move forward. And we're very appreciative of those sacrifices that people have made for us.
Yes. That scene was, I have two cousins named Daniel, who are both, it's funny because they're from opposite sides of my family, but they're both called Daniel and they're both foreigners. So I have my cousin Daniel who lives in Newark, and I have my cousin Daniel who lives in London. Mm-hmm. My cousin who lives in London, he is a teenager. I think he's like 19 now, maybe he's 20, but last time he came over, maybe 4 years ago, we went to see my our grandparents, and his mom speaks a bit of broken Portuguese at this point. She speaks a little like Nachi, but he does not speak any Portuguese, and he has a very hard time understanding it. His father is English, and so I am the only person in my family who speaks both fluent Portuguese and English. Mm-hmm. So I was acting kind of like an interpreter for him. Mm-hmm. And I remember being, just translating what he said to my grandma and what my grandma said to him. And he must have been like 15 or 16 when that happened. And Daniel got very frustrated because I don't remember what my grandma said, but it was something very Brazilian, and I couldn't translate it. I had a very hard time, because translating on the spot is also super hard.
Yeah.
Right, because you're using both sides of your brain, and it's really hard. So I had a hard time, and I was like, and he got so frustrated, and he stormed off. He stormed off, went to the middle of the street, just sat there. And I ran after him, and I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm doing my best here, but like this is hard. Translating is hard. And he was like, I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with me. And he said, she's my grandma. She's my, getting a little emotional here. She's my grandmother. She is my history, and I can't connect with her. I can't understand her. I can't tell her what I feel without somebody else. And I feel responsible for this because I lost, I lost the chance of growing up bilingual. That was not, something I could help. And now I'm almost an adult, and I want to know more about my culture. I want to know more about my history. I know that she is the roots to who I am, and I don't have access to that. She's right here, and she's not going to be here for long, and I don't have access to her because I don't speak her language. So that scene was for him, that scene was,
because the love really transcends,
It does. And I after I talked with him, we came back inside, and I told our grandma how she was feeling. She hugged him really close, and I remember her, this frail woman, just holding this teenage boy so close, and he was sobbing in her chest, just full on shaking, and she was hugging him so close and saying, "Bebê, a vovó te ama, bebê, a vovó te ama."
Vou chorar também.
And it was just, it was so emotional. And so, this is, I feel like this book is a big love letter to a lot of people, and that side is for him. That side is like, I love you too, baby. I love you too, my little baby cousin.
Yeah, but I feel like this is what it makes it so special, because I can see, like, in the book, how much of yourself is in there, how much you believe in what you're writing, and how important that story is to you, and how deeply ingrained with your story it is. And I am just like so grateful that you decided to share this with us, because it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, because I think beyond the memes, because we do a lot, and everybody who is my friend, and beyond the weird sayings that we have in Brazil that I always translate to my friends, and I'm like, as we say in Brazil, and they always know that something very weird, the songs that are very weird, the niche references, there is this one friend of us, Celine. We taught them, me and Babella, we taught them how to do the sign. Yeah, and so now everywhere that they go, they're like, it's so good. Like, but I do feel like there is also this aggregating culture of like, I want to share this with you because I want to experience this with me. Like Rachel was in a chat. I just sent her like balafini and cookies and like ovo maltine because I want her and my friends abroad to experience this with us. And as we say in Brazil, yeah, Rachel is right. As we say in Brazil, we say a lot of shit, but beyond ours, that there is this really fierce love that we feel. And it reminds me a lot of that song, Maria Maria by Milton Nascimento, that he says, is this people who has this strange quirk to still have faith in life. And I feel it's very much this. It's very much like shit is going down. We're making fun of it. Like, I don't know how many texts I sent my friends, like the world crumbling, and I'm making jokes. This is how we deal and stuff.
It's very Brazilian. I think it's both our best and worst trait.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Not everything is supposed to be funny, but like
yeah, because by making fun of everything, we are not taken seriously.
Exactly.
So there is a bad aspect to it.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's the only way we can survive.
Exactly.
so our history has so much genocide, has so much brutality.
Yeah.
Truly brutality. When I think about the dictatorship, when I think about the what's the name of the place, the asylum you are studying in English?
Oh yeah. I don't know. I translated as the psychiatric hospital of Barbacena.
Okay.
I couldn't find a translation for it.
So, all of this is so brutal because such a brutal history with the people that it's the only way we can survive. I like how you said it. It's like, so we don't drown. And I think that's very much the Brazilian mentality. And I also agree. I think that perhaps because of the way we were raised, of how for so long our country remained with the borders open for refugees, especially war refugees, we have a very mixed culture. I was talking with a friend of mine who's Black about twerking in Brazil and how it's difficult. It's difficult to, because I didn't know what twerking was until that Miley Cyrus thing in the VMAs.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. And I was dancing funky ever since I was like 11. So it's difficult. Of course, some things are very clear, but it's difficult to draw the line on cultural appropriation in Brazil. Yeah. Because so much about Brazilian culture is about sharing to the point.
I have opinions about that. So I do think that I mentioned this in a couple of videos before. When we're thinking about the ways in which oppressed population have survived in the United States, they have survived in a very specific way. And guarding their culture was necessary for that. Because if that culture was to be open, then they would risk themselves to be genocided and their culture completely erased. And in Brazil, like when we think about, for instance, slavery in Brazil, the United States, for comparison, the United States received 5% of all the slaves trafficked from Africa. Brazil received 45%, but at any given moment in Brazilian history, Brazil had less slaves than the United States because the turnout rate was so high, the death rate was so high, and the way that they found to make sure that these knowledge, that their memory, that they wouldn't be forgotten, was to share that and to make sure that as many people knew that as possible. And so, and then you come to situations like, for instance, my religion, which is Umbanda, which is an African Brazilian religion with African gods.
I was born as well. I was born into Umbanda, even though like I don't practice anymore.
Yeah.
Like filha de Ogum, like
really?
Yeah. I was when I was young. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's funny when I remember mentioning this to my friend, and she was like, "Isn't Umbanda like African Brazilian? Because you don't look very African."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely right. I'm not African, but Brazil is like that.
Yeah, it's open, and it's not like, I don't want this to look like it's a racial democracy. It's because it's beautiful and no one is right. Not the point, but it's like the ways in which we have found to survive, and we have found it to make. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately because I took a DNA. I just took a DNA test, and turns out I'm 100% Satin Brazilian, but I'm also very extremely mixed race. And, the test just solidified that to me, like how extremely mixed race that is. And every once in a while, I get very frustrated because I can't find records of my family. What I had of histories of my family where my grandparents could tell me, and, now all of my grandparents are dead. And my grandmother in her later years, she had Alzheimer's, so she couldn't remember much. And so these were the people who made me, and this is a system that makes them being forgotten. And the only way that I can remember them is through those things that they passed on. And, I can only remember my ancestors who were brought on by slave ships, and my ancestors who were indigenous, who were genocided, because of how much of them there still is on my everyday daily practices. And so, whenever we dress all in white for New Year's Eve, which apparently is Brazilian, and I didn't know. Apparently, just Brazil does that, and I thought that this was everywhere. When we dress in white,
it's because of Umbanda. It's because of the
Umbanda, and it's like when you jump 7 waves during New Year's Eve, when there's a lot of things that come from this thing. Like, I am going to share this so more people know, so it won't be forgotten, it won't be erased. And so you reach a culture that is extremely racist, and I'm not saying that it isn't, but it's still like a lot of what we do, what we act, it's still up for those people, and it's so like ingrained in our culture that they're never really gone. And so, oh yeah, and the different colors for the panties as well. So here in Brazil, no, I do that. So here in Brazil, on New Year's Eve, it is important for you to choose your panties carefully, because if you want passion, you might want to go with a red one, or a pink one.
Yellow, always had yellow.
Money had the yellow panties. But there's that meme too, like someone asks so-and-so what color panties they wore on this New Year's Eve because they're having a great year. And so, like, I always do that too. But like, all of those things are just like things that we might not know their names, and we might not be able to trace that ancestry, but we still know them somewhat. You know, we still carry them somewhat. And being able to put this and understand the culture in this way is very important to me, because it's like, this miscegenation is not a racial democracy by any means. It's just another way of surviving. Exactly. And I need to honor this way of surviving as well. You know?
Yes, absolutely. I was thinking, like, when you were talking about your family history and how I don't really know, like, I have the mother of the father of my mom. She came here on an Italian ship for World War II, which, you know, it's interesting because some people in the north. So my state, some context for people who are not from Brazil watching this. Rio Grande do Sul, my state, has a lot of problems. I say we, but I don't share those ideologies. But like, we as a people have pushed for separatism a lot of times.
I've made a lot of memes about that.
That's fair. That's fair. We should be made fun of. And we actually celebrate the date in which we lost the separatist war.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting. But the thing about it, but one thing so yes, it's fair to make fun of us. Okay, we are super entitled. Do make fun of us. But one thing that I have seen made fun of that I don't think is fair is when people criticize Italian and Germans who came over during World War II, and they call Italians and Germans, what do you call that? Colonizers, because they came on extremely poor condition ships to survive war on their country. When my grandma came, she came with 4 brothers. Only one of them survived, because we are talking about like extremely poor conditions. Like they starved to death on those ships. Her father didn't make it. You know, as soon as they touched land, he died. So it's not the same. There was, like we've been talking a lot, there was a lot of European colonization in Brazil. But what happened here specifically was not that. Also, as I'm sure you know, when Africans were forced into slavery to Brazil, they were brought in from the Northeast. So that was where most of the Black communities were. My country was my state is at the very bottom. So bringing in external people to be enslaved was very expensive for the European, for the Portuguese and Spanish. So what they did was they committed genocide against the indigenous peoples from there. So the 1/4 who survived the arrival of the Portuguese in Brazil, most of them were forced into slavery. In fact, my descendants that I know of, the Shahua, they were considered especially savage because they would rather die than be enslaved. So a lot of them committed suicide when they were taken.
Yeah.
All of this goes to say that here in the South, we have, it's basically a mix of, okay, some Portuguese customs, but most strongly indigenous mixed with Italian and German, which can be really weird. I admit that, but it's also like what happened then. It's like, so for example, in the local languages, if I talk about tree, for example, nouns, obviously I'm going to take this to a linguistic route. Nouns, they have verb tenses.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you talked about the tree that was, the tree that is, or the tree that will be. Those were different words. And this concept of giving verb tenses to nouns, it changed the way we relate to objects. So I think it's very common in South Brazilian cultures to deal with things as if they have lives of their own. So this is such a specific thing that I do think is beautiful. Like when you enter a river, you are not just entering a river, you are asking for permission to the river. Even if you are not religious, even if you're not, my mom, she still asks for permission to Iemanjá to enter the sea every single time. But even if it's not at all about religion, you are going to do these things because that's the indigenous heritage.
Yeah.
That's that you may not know the name of the people who came before you, but like you said, it's a form of surviving, of passing on what was.
Yeah, and I feel like this is very interesting because my state, for context, I'm from a state in Brazil called Minas Gerais. And I feel like my state has the complete opposite history, because my state was the center of gold mining in the 18th century. And so there was a lot of slave labor that was brought from the Northeast that was very close. And there was a lot of slavery. The majority of our historical cities, they were built by slaves. And so there are places that I absolutely love, like Ouro Preto, but when you walk there, it's kind of like the story of that is very heavy. And at the same time, there was indigenous genocide. After the gold ran out, they started farming a lot. And so it's very different from what happens in the South. And I think this goes to show that Brazil is not a monolith. We're not the same thing. We have same cultures. We are similar in some regards, but it's like I said, I think I mentioned this on Twitter this week, that people who are not Brazilian don't quite understand the scale of massiveness that Brazil is, and the amount of cultural differences that exist. I wouldn't feel comfortable writing a character who is from the Northeast, because it's a very different culture and it's a very different understanding of life and the way that life works. Even though my dad, even though my dad is from the Northeast, and so and I think this goes to show how we think culture differently. Because my dad, just a second.
Yeah, of course. You get to see me. Meanwhile.
Okay, so I have a dog. And he's very needy. And so, me aporta, Cissa. Obrigada. So, Cissa is my sibling. But as I was saying, it's a very different cultural context. And I remember when I went to Manaus is in the middle of the Amazon. Literally in the middle of the Amazon. You get to Manaus by plane or by boat. It's it's in the middle of the Amazon. And it's so wildly different from Minas Gerais. Very indigenous in another way, because, Manaus has a heavily indigenous influence. And so it really does feel like you're a tourist in your own country, despite us knowing all of that and in sharing the same things. And it's interesting for me because it's it comes again to the point where I always say, like, culture is heritage, not inheritance. And so it doesn't really matter if my dad is from the Northeast. I'm not, you know, I'm from Minas Gerais and I have my own culture. And, you know, I'm very, like, everyone who has talked to me in Portuguese ever knows how heavy and thick my accent is. Because I'm very...
Same. I am made fun of so much because
your accent is very thick. The first time that I heard you speak in Portuguese, I was like, oh God, she really is.
Yeah. And like there's also that, right? So how Brazilians weaponize accents as a symbol of class.
Yeah.
And even though, you know, I am lucky enough that I got to go to college and, you know, be a teacher for a very long time, I did those academic things in English. So my Portuguese is still the same Portuguese I grew up with. And so when I talk in Portuguese, I commit the errors that, you know, grammatically, I know they're not correct. But this is how I grew up speaking. I'm not going to change it. You know, there's a funny way of saying this in the South here. Eu digo, as gurias vão comprar os pão. You know, instead of flexing the plurals correctly. And you see, this is seen as a sign of poverty here. If you do this, if you speak the way I do, you're made fun of because you're poor. And so it's funny that there's this code switching, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I feel like in my case it's even more drastic because I'm an attorney. And so I grew up with a poor family, and we speak a very specific Portuguese from the northeastern part of Minas Gerais that is very specific, that is a very specific way of singing the words and stuff. It's very, very characteristic. And then whenever I have to go, my mom says it's like lawyer mode. She says I go into lawyer mode. And then instantly my Portuguese changes. And that is also a mark of class in Brazil. Because in Brazil, race, sexuality, a lot of this is also very deeply tied to class. And there is also this, because like, it's not like people will stop being racist to you. It's just like the overt amount of racism will vary drastically depending on how much money you have.
Absolutely. Someone said in the comments that their people made fun of Nordeste, the Northeast accent. And I mean, I would go as far as say that they are the people who are most marginalized.
Oh, 100%.
When we come to, because like you said, there are a lot of things, right? Brazil is extremely colorist as well. But I think that the racism that people from the Northeast specifically suffer because of the way they speak is so heavy. And I think that transcends a lot of things. Like, even if you were rich, if you have a Northeast accent, you're going to be treated less.
Exactly. 100%. This is
a mark of like, you are from the poor area. So even if you're white, even if you're rich, you are going to be discriminated against because you are from the area where like to pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah. And precisely because it is so poor and because it is, you know, and there's a lot of it, I think.
We are extremely, like the southeast of Brazil holds the majority of the money in the country. So we are extremely terrible, you know, with the rest of the country. There's the sense of superiority.
Yeah.
And that's
especially if you are from São Paulo. I have a lot of prejudice against people from São Paulo. I'm just gonna come out against the São Paulo hater because, like,
I have a lot of family in São Paulo, and they treat me like such an exotic pet because of the way I speak. It's totally real, you know. Totally, it's. I think São Paulo is beautiful. I really like going there. I like the city. I like
the countryside of São Paulo better. Like, I like the city, but I like people from the countryside of São Paulo better than I do.
I mean, yes, but I mean, like, just the city, you know, like Avenida Paulista. I think it's so cool. What Haddad did closing that that avenue on Sundays for art I think that's, you know, it's one of my favorite things in the world.
The city is great. What fucks it up is the people who live in it.
Every single time I go there, you know, they make fun of my accent. They make fun of.
See, Rachel, I too am prejudiced against Florida.
That's fair. That's fair. Alyssa, are you still there? We are so sorry, baby.
No, like I have nothing against people from São Paulo. I have friends who are from São Paulo, but but I feel like it's important for us to put forward like all of those regional differences and the difficulties and the regional like contradictions in itself, like how it is important for us to go about how Brazil is definitely not a monolith. More than Rio de Janeiro, which I love, but like more than Rio, I love the city, not the people again. But no, I really like. I love the city. The city is gorgeous. I love it. But
I want to tell you something that I think you and other Brazilians watching are gonna find really funny, like in a sad way, but you know, sad and Brazilian. That's our motto. So I got an email the other day from an American, and she wanted me to do a sensitivity read for her. I was like, okay, so you're writing about a Brazilian? And she was like, yeah, I'm actually setting my story in Brazil. I'm like, okay. And she tells me that her story is set in the Amazon forest and featuring indigenous people. And I'm like, I'm from the South, like literally as far away as you can be from the Amazon forest. Like my region, it's like ports and planície, you know, like
flatlands, yeah.
Flatlands, yeah, like it couldn't be more. And she was like, no, but you're Brazilian. So I don't even know how to express to someone who's not super familiar with Brazil how, like, what an absurd request that was. You know, like, it's like
when I went to Manaus, I was so out of my depth. I was so out of my depth because it's just such a different culture. Like, I got so many funny things. Rachel loves this story. So many funny things happened in Manaus, including but not limited to me paying $30 for an ant, a single ant.
Okay.
No.
Was it those big ones though?
Gabi, listen to me, okay? Pay attention to me. Listen to my sob story. So we went to Manaus because my university that I do, I do my master's in. They have a doctorate program with the university in Manaus. And so we went there for an event. My advisor took me. Said advisor who took me to a gay club in a boat in Manaus. And I was like, I'm out of my depth here. But we were, one of the students of the program, she is from an indigenous community. And she was like, oh, so do you guys want to go? I used to use this as like, when I was a kid, I used to like pour soda on this. You put doce de leite on a pão de queijo. You have no word. You have no right to say anything.
My people do this. This is xenophobia.
It's not. It's truly not. Okay, too. I was almost kidnapped by dolphins, but that's not the story. The story is a lot of things happened in this trip to Manaus. But so she invited us to go to an indigenous community, and they have like they had a meal prepared for us to visit. So, and one of the meals was there were like fish and this thing that they eat. It's called tucumã. It's this kind of like fruit that is kind of fleshy. I don't really know how to explain. It's really good. They eat it with tapioca. Actually, it's really, really good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, super good. But there were also ants, and I was like, I'm gonna eat one. It's just so you know, I'd say that, whatever. And so say like I ate it. I had the opportunity, had the experience, and I ate it, and it tastes like nothing. It's like crunchy. That's it. And then the next day, because Manaus also, by the way, important information, Manaus is a city with a huge income inequality. And so you have a large part of the city that is very poor, but you have people who are filthy rich. Like one of those people took us on a yacht ride in the Black River. And I was like, what are we doing here? But anyway, no, wild, insane, absolutely insane. But then they took us to a restaurant, like a very fancy restaurant. And the waiter was like, so we have ants. Do you want to try the very exotic food of ants of the Amazon? And I was like, I ate ants yesterday. And he was like, no, but these ones are different. We only feed them like lemon leaves. And so they have a slight citric aftertaste. And so they are very like different. And I was like, okay, give me the ant. I swear to God, they brought out a spoon with a dash of potato puree. Like, it wasn't like a full spoon of potato puree. It was like of potato puree and a singular ant. One ant on top of that. $30. And I was like, how do I eat this? And he was like, just put everything in your mouth. And I did. And he was like, do you taste the citrousness? And I was like, no. I just taste potato.
You got played.
I got played. I got tourist played, which would never happen in my state. Just so you to know, like the difference between that trip was wild. That was a wild ride in Manaus. But anyway, it's very different. It's a very different context. But when you say like an American called you about setting a book in Brazil, I remember that one book.
By Chad Michael Murray?
No, it's one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Yeah, it's so basically, look, listen, it's a book about the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And there is pestilence. Yeah.
By a Brazilian author.
No, the author is not Brazilian.
Eduardo Spor.
No.
He has a book about the apocalypse.
No, but it's like a book where the Horsemen of the Apocalypse are real and there is a lot of smut regarding them, which is not a concept that I thought I needed. But the Laura Talassa book, there is a pestilence, then there is war, famine, and then there's going to be death. I'm going to read because I'm questionable. But the thing is, the book Famine is set in Brazil. I don't think I've ever laughed so hard at like she put jabuticaba trees growing in beaches, like which doesn't happen. Like distances that I think she did, like the road that they took, it was like Serra do Mar, like Ubatuba, that part, Paratidla. So they went down there through São Paulo, through Curitiba, through Mato Grosso, back to Minas Gerais, down to São Paulo in 4 days. And I was like,
that's Google Maps. That's
what
I do. Right?
No, but the best part. Are you ready for the best part? It's really good. So the climax of the story happens in Taubaté. And I spent the entirety of the last half of the book going, o Apocalipse de Taubaté.
I was waiting for the pregnant woman.
Exactly. But I couldn't take it seriously because it was set in Taubaté. And then I had to explain to every one of my friends who were in Brazilian what the pregnant woman of Taubaté is, which makes everyone go insane, by the way. No one understands the story of peak Brazilian.
But have you heard of Chad Michael Murray's book in Brazil?
No.
Do you know who I'm talking about? The one for you guys? He's blonde. He played, he was in the Cinderella story by Disney with Hilary Duff.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I think he plays a Riverdale dad now.
Not a Riverdale dad.
Yeah, I mean, one of them. Okay, so he wrote a book about this American sniper or whatever war hero who comes to Brazil, falls in love with a girl named Natal. So the girl's name is Christmas. That's not a name we use, by the way. Like, her name is Christmas. It's like looking
Natalia?
at a girl.
Okay.
Yeah,
Natal?
but like Natal. It's like calling a girl Christmas. Okay, that does not. It's like, you know, I'm gonna go with my friend Christmas, my friend Easter.
He plays a Riverdale cult leader.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's more context. So then, yes, she's named Natal, Christmas. And then she is, of course, involved with a drug lord in Rio de Janeiro. And they go up the communities in Morro to, this American sniper basically ends the problem with drug dealing in Brazil. He kills the one drug lord who lives in a Carioca favela, because that's where drug lords live, right? They're not the CEOs and no. The guy didn't even do any reading in Comando Vermelho or anything like that. It was straight down. He takes down the drug lord and ends drug dealing in Brazil and saves Natal. And I think they go to the Amazon forest in the end. Oh. And it was inspired by his visit to Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, he did the poverty safari.
He did. He must have done it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So every time someone is like, you were one of the first books talking about Brazil, right? I'm like, not really. Chad Michael Murray, beat me to it.
Also, but speaking of which, I'm going to need you to write fan fiction, because I need you to tell me what happens when Nachi gets home.
Oh.
With the gringo in tow. Who is immediately adopted by everyone, I assume.
Make enough noise about it so my publisher can ask me for a sequel. I'm just saying.
Do you all want me to read the Chad Michael Murray book? Do you want me to do that? Do you hate me all that much? Oh my God.
I'm not gonna do that. Like, I think I'd rather poke my eyes out.
Gabi, what's your favorite one of this? I haven't cracked into this one yet.
Garoto. I don't know which are the possibilities. My favorite one is Prestígio and Sensação.
I don't think I have this. There is a very contentious one. This one, Caribe. Either you love it or you hate it. It's the banana one.
I have never had it, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't really eat candy with banana, but my grandpa loves it.
I hate my friends.
What would you rather do? Hug a capivarinha or
I can't hug a capybara. They bite and spread spotted rocket mountain fever. I can't. Also, if you touch them, like, there will come like 30 police officers telling you to back off. Legit. No.
So I've been to Minas Gerais, but I went as a tourist. So I went, that street on Belo Horizonte that has a bunch of bars?
Which one of the thousands one?
There's one that is like way down. And there's a gazillion bars and restaurants, one in front of the other.
You do know that is not...
I was told that was the street of bars. I don't know. It's been years. But I went there and I had a very nice time there. And I remember the one thing I remembered the most from my trip to Minas Gerais was that, like, there were so many trees everywhere, and every single person you talked to about this was pissed that there used to be more. Every single time.
That there was what?
There used to be more.
More what? Cut it a little bit.
More trees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I remember this was before Uber.
Oh! I'm sorry. I just bit into something very hard.
That's okay. Are you okay there, love?
Oh, no. It's peanut field. Please carry on.
Okay. So, like, I went with my grandma. I'm sorry. I went with my grandma, and we would take taxis, and every single time she would be so in love with how many trees there were, and she would comment to the taxi driver, I love how many trees there is. É tão arborizado aqui. And every single time they'd be like, There used to be more.
There used to be more. Yeah.
There used to be more. It's a shame now. There are no trees. Meanwhile, we're like, so many trees. And they're like, no trees.
Yeah, we're very bitter about that, actually. We had a mayor that just chopped a lot of it down, and we're like, bitch.
It's so funny, though, because, like, by our standards, your city has, like, so many trees. It's so beautiful. And, you know, apparently that's a sensitive topic. Like,
no, my city has bars. And so now it's the pandemic. I can't go to bars. What am I supposed to do with my life? You know?
You guys don't have cheese, right?
What?
Cheese.
Oh, we do also.
You do cheese? The one that is like, not cheeseburger, cheese.
What is that?
So apparently, like, my city, like my actual city, not the capital, it's the capital of cheese. Cheese, I have to say it in Portuguese. There's no other way. É pão prensado, e daí dentro tem, tipo, pedacinho de churrasco, ovo frito, batata frita, às vezes, salada.
Meu Deus, que trem maravilhoso!
É tudo prensado. Depois eu vou te mandar foto. So she's apparently there's only that in the south of Brazil, and that is the actual thing that I'm proud of. Here. When Sophia, my friend from Rio, she was staying with me. I was like, she was like, oh, I want to, like, really taste, you know, comida gaúcha. Maybe like the barbecue you were also proud of. And I'm like, yeah, that's all good, but like, she was like, what is cheese? And then I bought her one with chicken hearts.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So apparently, did you know that the rest of the world thinks we are super disgusting because we eat chicken heart?
They don't know what they're missing.
Exactly. Like, it's so good. Today, I had lunch with my grandma, and she, my baby cousin, he doesn't eat a lot of food. So she made like a whole pan of chicken hearts with pasta. And he was just like,
it's so good.
It is so good. So apparently the only other place in the world that eats chicken hearts is like the north of China, but only the north. Like, even in China, in some places, they'll be like, ugh, that's disgusting.
It's really good. I suggest you all eat the chicken hearts.
But apparently,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Apparently, my friend from China who told me about this, she sent me a pic, and apparently they eat it in this kind of like broth, more like a soup kind of thing, and we eat it with food in general. So
yeah. Speaking of love, why don't you tell us about your rocker Brazilian stars that are upcoming?
What do you want me to tell you?
What's the book about? What can you tell us? When is it coming out?
Okay, it's coming out summer next year. I don't know when exactly yet. We have just started talking about cover and the cover artists, and I'm very excited to see the draft. But yeah, okay, so the story. Like I said, I have two cousins from abroad whose names are Daniel. So this is a book about Danielle, who is, you know, I'll probably like work on a better summary when it's closer to release date. So now you're gonna get like the version. So he is he's a Brazilian from Curitiba, and he's a teen who is like super shy, and he's tried super hard to be successful with music, and it never really worked out until he was, you know, he auditioned for a TV show called Making Music, which is kind of like The Voice. And they put him together with these other kids who already had a band, and that's Mischief and Mayhem. And so he was thrust into this already existing band with an already existing dynamic. And as he's super shy, he never quite felt like he belonged and he was part of it. So he's not super close with his bandmates who have been friends since high school and all of that. And So he does find success in the United States, but because of all of this, of being shy and not really, he's very self-conscious about his English, his accent, all of this. The tabloids kind of took him for being very arrogant. And then it didn't help that he fell asleep on a club on this girl's shoulder. And for 15 minutes of fame, this girl went to the press and said they had slept together. So everyone kind of sees him as a bad boy, that he's absolutely not. He's a virgin. He's never drank any alcohol even. And everyone thinks he's like out there doing drugs and going wild. And, he likes to be in bed by 10 and he likes to crochet. That's, what he does to relieve stress. He's very close with his grandma. And then parallel to this, we have Sasha, who is a third generation Brazilian. And she is not like, she's poor. She's working 2 jobs in her summer vacation. And one of her dreams is to go to college, which is not at all an option for her. She has kind of made peace with this until she's caught in a situation with Daniel, who the world knows as rotten. And her boss at the tabloid where she takes pictures from, sometimes he suggests that if she can dig a bad enough dirt on Daniel, then he's gonna appoint her for a scholarship at the magazine, for this magazine board, so she would be able to go to college. All she has to do is get close to him, find some dirt. And so parallel, like this is all going on. And when they meet, the bandmates, Daniel's bandmates, when they see him with Sasha, they're like, you know what? Let's make a bet. I bet that you can stay with this one girl all summer, because, they think he's such a player. And he takes the bet because, you know what? He would like to be with someone for a whole summer because he's never been with anyone ever. And so they start going out with these opposing agendas.
I love this so much.
I'm so excited. I have a friend from Florida who's kind of coached me into Los Angeles things. And it's been so much fun writing from Daniel's perspective as someone who does not know Florida, does not know Los Angeles, does not know Florida, no, California, does not know how long it takes to go from one place to the other. And he takes her on these disastrous dates that are super touristy because, he's trying. But
I love this.
I'm having so much fun. And, he does throw a party, an impromptu pool party, and he doesn't know anyone. So he asks his agent, Bobby, to help him with this party. And she sends Nachi and her friends there because he needs people.
It's like oh my God, it's like AO3 cameos. I love this. I need this.
There's gonna be some Nachi, William, Benda, and Padma there as well.
I love this. I will start making a playlist for it right now. I love this.
Awesome. There's gonna be so much just a lot of cute drama between the band members. I'm so into them.
Yes. We love a crossover.
Same. And
I love this.
I want to like really explore other aspects, of being Brazilian, of being like, I'm going to talk about colorism a bit because Daniel is a white Brazilian and Sasha she's a brown Latina. Mm-hmm. And we, one thing that I'm very excited about this book is to talk about like the definition of person of color and how it's very American.
Yeah.
Because, like Daniel is white, but people keep calling him a person of color. And he's like, what color? Like,
I don't have any.
Exactly. So, deeply relatable because I found out I was seen as a person of color when I was in the United States for the first time. And I was like,
when I went to the United States, people spoke Spanish to me all the time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I was like, why are you... People got angry at me if I didn't know Spanish. And I was like, man, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think it's very interesting, like how defensive people get. I mean, when I say I am a white Latina, people get very defensive with me. You know, they're like, you're not white, you're Latina. And I'm like, yeah, you can be both, actually. Like, you know,
Yeah.
being Latinx is being from South America, from Latin America. You can be any ethnicity as long as you're born there, you know, like.
We have Asian Latin Americans and stuff, the biggest Japanese community outside of Japan. Like,
Exactly.
there's a lot of people, a lot of different cultures. So, yeah.
And I think it's, so I always say that I'm not trying to say that if you look like me, you are white, because I don't know what it's like. I think that racism operates differently in different parts of the world. So I'm not trying to talk about anyone's experience but my own. But my experience is that I grew up in a place in which I was white. I live in a place in which I am white, and I have white privilege. So I think it's unfair to people who actually experience racism in Brazil to call myself a person of color.
Yeah.
I am not a person of color.
Which also, if you translate person of color literally to Portuguese, that's extremely offensive.
It is.
And so it took me a while in order to understand that when you say person of color in English, that's kind of like the polite term, because if you say that in Portuguese, like, that is not it. That is not
exactly. So there's always, I wanted to talk a bit about this in the second book.
Yeah.
By having, you know, be a white Brazilian who, like me, was born here, was raised here, unlike Nachi, who was already, you know, in who grew up in this American culture. Daniel has just gotten there. You know, he's already 17. He's already been through. He's already experienced a whole life of white privilege. And yes, there is prejudice, but it's xenophobia. You know, it's not racism. So
it is, and it isn't.
I'm talking about my experience, right?
Sure.
I'm not completely valid. If you look like me, like you know about your experience, but I think that's interesting, you know, to shine light into this, that just because someone is, so he does experience microaggressions, like I have, and like I still do, because you know, you have an accent and you speak a certain way. And you know, the other day, my editor was like, you keep writing proper in your book, like that's British, that's not American, like saying, oh, this is a proper meal. She was like, that because my English was built on just everything, and all of that. But I just think it's dismissive to, you know, indigenous, to especially Black Brazilians, to claim this space as a person of color, because that's not it. Like, I feel like if you generalize this, you are saying that I would suffer the same type of prejudice that a fellow Brazilian who is Black would, and that's not right at all. Because you know, racism, especially based on colorism, is so big in Brazil. Like, like you said before, like, it is expressed differently. But one of the ways in which racism is deeply expressed in Brazil is by pretending it doesn't exist. And by saying, like, we are not racist, we are all the same, and so on. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this, that like, just because,
and I'm sure it's gonna be amazing. I love this. I love the serious topics, but also the bets and the fluff. I need this book. I need this book.
I am so excited. Like, I will say that, I don't know if I should say this, but we are on point of 2 hours of this video. If anyone is sticking around after so long, they deserve to get like privileged information. So the third book I'm going to pitch is it happens at a festival in Brazil with another main character, but there would be cameos of Nachi and of Mischief and Mayhem because it's a festival. It's a music
I love how you created like the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe of Brazilians. I love this.
Yeah.
It's like
After I write this book, because I want that to be my third book. I really want that to be my third book. And I've already started working on the proposal and stuff. So fingers crossed that the editors like it. After that, I want to pitch 2 books. I really want to write a Brenda and Padma sequel. I really want to write like about the Gabbyverse. I love that, Dibs. I love that. I really want to write about like how Padma and Brenda started dating and how they hid that from their best friend Nachi, and told by Brenda's point of view of being a normal girl dating a celebrity. I really want to write that, and I would also really like to write. So in this book, Bad at Love, the band Mischief and Mayhem is Rotten, Daniel, the lead singer Penny, and Wade and Sam. And Sam is Brazilian. He's 3rd generation, and he's like big denial. Like, I'm not Brazilian. Like, nope. And this plays a part in the book, contrasting with how Daniel deals with his Latinidade and being Brazilian, and how Sam rejects it. And I would also like to write a book in which Sam is the protagonist, and it's his love story with Wade. So that would be like the books I would like to write for this universe. Before
I am here for the long run. Whatever you want to throw. You want to write fan fiction? You want to write short stories? You want to give me crumbles? I am here for them. I need them. Oh my God.
I love them. Like, I really want to write these 3 books for this universe. As long as my editor lets me get away with it, I'm gonna just keep writing in this universe.
Please. Who do I need to bribe? I need this.
Fun to write in the same universe, characters who know each other and how they're all connected with Bobby. I love that because I love Bobby as a character as well.
Oh, she's great. I loved her.
But it's so much fun to write them. So yeah, I would love to just continue in this world for a while. It's great to write cameos, like actually Bad at Love starts the first scene, if it makes it to the final version, right? I don't know if it will, but so they are coming out of a club, the boys of the band, and Daniel is kind of like pretending to be drunk, but he's not, and there's all of that, and they are just attacked by TMZ and by all these reporters. And because there's so many rumors around Rotten around Daniel, one of the reporters asks Rotten, "Is it true that you stole Reese Brown from Trent Nicholson? Is it true?" And he's like, "Who the fuck are these people? I have no idea who Reese."
And I wish he had. I wish he had, to be honest.
I mean, Reese is not that great. She was much nastier in the first few drafts of the book. We cut a lot of scenes, but she's not that great. She's...
No, yeah, sure. But also, like, stealing her from Trent would make Trent miserable, which for me is a win in my books.
I had one idea of writing like an extra book about like all of Trent's ex-girlfriends teaming up to destroy him.
It's like The Bachelor, but reversed.
Yeah. And then, of course, one of them falls in love with the other one. So it's like sapphic, but it's... so maybe one day that will still happen, like I have a lot of ideas.
We Brazilians, we just keep winning. I love this. I love this.
We do say that God is Brazilian, so...
Deus é bom demais, cara. I am excited. Okay, so I actually have some documents to go over with my family now.
Okay, that's fair.
I am unfortunately an attorney still, so...
You are. You're a badass, yeah.
But yeah,
you are. Come on, you really are.
I don't really feel like it, but let me finish my thesis and I will wonder if I am truly a badass. Right now, I just feel really dumb. But
no, don't say that. Okay, I'm a teacher. You cannot say that in my presence. It makes me have a physical reaction about how everyone is special in their own way, and we all have different types of intelligence.
No.
There's no such thing as being dumb, okay? That doesn't exist.
Okay, I will take that.
Special and intelligent in your way, and you make a lot of difference in the world. The world would not be what it is without you.
I am going to cry. Stop.
Positive influence.
Stop. I am going to cry. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I have to go run through some documents with my family real quick. Awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for 2 hours, talking a lot. In 6 months' time, you are going to be invited back so we can discuss all of the spoilers. Awesome. I love this. But yeah.
Anniversary thing.
Yeah. Any parting messages to the people who stuck around?
Jesus Christ, if you're still here after 2 hours, you deserve a medal, because you have seen us talk about so many random things about being Brazilian and memes and history and food, and just like you are fantastic. But for real though, thank you so much for supporting us both. Thank you for supporting Brazilians. This is very important. I feel like if you do that for one of us, you're doing it for all of us. So thank you so much. It brings me so much joy to see what a wonderful person Louise, and you know how you all support her, and just being in her channel. You know, she's an incredible content creator. She is honest, frank. She is a light. She's never afraid to speak up, which I admire so greatly. She's just such a joy. She's sunshine, and I'm very grateful that we all get to be here. I am so happy and so thankful that I get to spend a little bit of my launch week with this sunshine ray. Yes, her Twitter is also one of my favorites. She's one of my favorite people, you know, favorite content creator. She's incredible. Just thank you for hosting me. And thank you all
for staying with me. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.